Well, hi there. If you like art and astrology and are looking for ways to bring them together in some kind of joyful play, it's play that is a little bit serious, but mostly just a reminder about the basics of a very phenomenal way of seeing ourselves through the lens of starlight, through the lens of planets. And so, if you have your natal information and you've already become assimilated or you kind of know the basics of your birth chart, join me for a very introductory level on let's just paint our fire, earth, air, and water houses together. Let's remind ourselves who are the rulers for these primary, balancing of earth with water, air with fire. So I'm going to take a very slow, enjoyable romp while I'm painting in the colors of the astrology. Hey, are you ready to get out a pencil, a ruler, a compass, and a piece of paper? If you happen to have watercolor paper, that would be great. So why don't you draw along with me? Because in core essence, the astrology wheel is a teaching wheel at its core essence. And I know that Cryon has said in the past that if you remember your Lemurian lifetime, there was a Lemurian teaching wheel. And so, this idea of learning from the wheel or the cycle, there's something very primitive and profound and symbolic when we do this. Okay, so let me get going. Feel free to grab again a pencil, a piece of watercolor paper, a compass, and an eraser. I'll see you soon. Okay, so what I have in front of me is a pad of watercolor paper. For those of you who like to draw along or like to do what I'm doing, this is called a hot press watercolor paper. It happens to be 8 by 8 inches. All right, and here we go. The brand looks like it's called Fluid. So I open it up, and you can see from the edges is that I can draw one at a time, and it lays flat because it's gum bound on two sides. All right, so I'm going to show you how, with a ruler, you can find the center. What I'll do is I'll measure here, and I'll put a slight pencil mark where I think the center is. And I'm going to do the same over here and do a mark. So where these two lines meet is the center of the paper. Okay, so that's an interesting way of taking opposites of a square and finding one center. The center is the point of integration, it's the point of beginning. So let's say you found the center, and I mentioned that in drawing the circle, to begin with a pencil. This is just an HB2 pencil. But now that I want to add more material, I'm bringing in what's called a Derwent Inktense watercolor pencil. So to add this here to my Staedtler compass, put it in here. I really get it in there tightly. All right, so here we go. Most important thing is to line up. There we go. So here comes a blue circle. I'm going to retrace it backwards and forwards. There we go. So here's our circle with our center. Now the next important thing is to find out how to put in the cardinal points, the cross of spirit and matter. So you can see I'm using what's called a T-square. Okay, so it goes snug on the top. It's hitting the center. This way I can find my point of the midheaven and the nadir. If I do the opposite for the horizon line, here we go. Here's my ascendant and descendant. Okay. So I have my 4 corners, my cardinal points. The trick will be to see, how do I add in all 12 houses in my astrology wheel? Okay, so let's just do it the easy way. To divide our sphere, these are 2 hemispheres. Okay, so the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If you're born in the morning, like 6 a.m., your sun sign will be close to the rising. So the sun sets, the sun rises. When I come here, I do the horizon line. What is above? What is below? Working on myself below, working out in the world transpersonally above. So the next trick is, within each of these, we've got 4, but how do we get to 12? Well, in astrology, each segment of the house is 30 degrees. So 30, 60, 90. This is called a protractor. Remember this from math, high school math or middle school math? All right. So this will help me get the other points that I need to divide each of these quadrants by 30 degrees. All right. So what we see here is 0 to 10, 20, 30. So there's a 30-degree point here. And here's 60. And there's 90. All right. So then I come over here and I go 90 plus 30 is 120. Had to do some math there. 120 plus 30 is 150. All right. So we can just see we have these little dots hanging out. There's many ways to divide the circle, but this for me seems to be the easiest. Okay, we start again. 30 is here. 60, we have 90, and then we do 120 and 150. Here we go. So this is how we make sure we go through the center point. Bring my tool. Okay, there's the house division for 12th house, and its opposite is the 6th house. Let's do this again. Make sure that this point and this point line up. So we just put the 11th house and the 5th house, Aquarius and Leo. Now we've created the 10th house, and its opposite is the 4th house. All right, this is a visual teaching wheel, a visual language. So let's see, we're going to go this way. Just the most important thing is to line up going through the center. Here we go, 30 degrees for each house. All right, you see? So we created first, second, third, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, 6 houses below, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 above. All right, so we're off to a good start. If you'd like, you can use a magic eraser and just lightly, delicately on watercolor paper. And if you can get to this point, or you Google and print out on printer paper, you don't have to use watercolor, but you can get to this wheel, you're going to be able to follow along. First thing I want to do is to point out the firehouses. So let's go ahead, for sake of just teaching. I'm going to call fire out as red. So we're going to say house 1 is red. This is Aries. And then we say fire, earth, air, water, fire. This is the 5th house of Leo. And then we go earth, air, water, fire. So this is the 9th house. So we will paint the 1st, 5th, and 9th houses red. These are the fire houses. We know that the 1st house is the great I am of Aries. This is the 5th house of hear me roar. I perform. I express. This is Leo. And then this is the beautiful 9th house of Sagittarius. I explore, going out into far distant lands or even the galactic. All right, let's just do some painting. Turn off my mind and just paint. I do want you to see the color. So what I like to do is have water. This is a brush that is got a square on the end. It's called a flat. And I'm bringing in a paper towel to help me make sure I don't have too much water on my brush. All right, so let's go grab some red. This is just your basic watercolor paint. And here we go. 1st house. Fire. Thank you, Aries. The beginning of spring. The ascendant. I am. How do I look? You know, this is, you have planets here. They have a way of impacting your great I am. I have, what do you have in your 1st house as far as planets? I happen to have Libra and Virgo ascendant, but the planet I have in here is Mercury. So I know that a great part of I am is me communicating. It's not just with my words. I can communicate with other things like song or visual paintings. I am. All right, so there's the 1st house. What planets do you have when you do the pause in the great I am house, the 1st house? Now, the 5th house is the house that is known as Leo's house. It is I express, I create, I have romance. It's not marriage. Okay, I'm trying to paint this without moving the wheel too much. Here we go. Fire. So this is cardinal. I assert and I go. What kind of fire is Leo? Think about it. Its ruler is the sun. What happens to the sun? It just stays there. It's fixed in our beautiful sky. So cardinal, the beginning of spring, fixed fire. You know, the sunlight standing tall in the sky, fixed fire. When we get to the 9th house of Sagittarius, this is more mutable. I am Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, and I am flying through the sky with an aeroglyph. So this is mutable. Really understanding fixed, mutable, and cardinal. It's very important when we talk about astrology. But we're just painting along, having fun with red. Think of the primal blood red. You know, I am, it's active. All of fire carries the principle, not of receptivity, but of assertion. I assert. We would say, Let's see, go back here. Where Aries is cardinal, I begin, I'm the pioneer. Leo, I'm the performer. I'm on stage, hear me roar. Sagittarius, fire, mutable. I am flying through the heavens, looking at the higher truths, exploring. Okay, so those are our 3 fire houses in basic astrology. Right. So we let the first house, the 5th house, and the 9th house, all fire houses, we let them dry. Now we're going to put the earth houses. So fire is always followed by earth. So this is the 2nd house of earth. And so following fire, the next house, this is the 6th house, is earth. Following fire, so this is the 9th, this is the 10th house. So the 2nd, 6th, and 10th form the triad of earth. The earth houses follow fire. It's an interesting metaphor when you think about creation, perhaps started with a bang, fire, right? And then when it settles down, it can move towards more earth on an archetypal level. So I'm getting out my green. Here we go. And I'm going to start painting and letting you tune in to the green of the 2nd house, Taurus. Right? And I like to leave a little bit of white space in between. Here we go. It's like painting fingernails. You leave a little white around and it'll set the whole thing off. Here we go. The green of Taurus, earth. This is a personal house. Here's where we start going from the masculine into the more receptive, fertile. Okay, so fire to earth. Thank you. This is the house of Taurus, ruled by Venus. So Taurus likes to stay home. This is going from cardinal to fixed energy. So feminine, fixed, Taurus. Now we're coming over here to the 6th house. This is the house of Virgo. But this earth shows up differently. This is mutable, the shifting, the ability to adapt. Go add a little more water. What do we know about Virgo? We know that she is ruled by Mercury. So this idea of communication, analysis, the mind, but it's immutable earth. Okay, loving to find and work with earth to find medicine, healing, devotion to healing. So fixed earth, this is my resources, Taurus, to the mutable of working with the interpersonal world of how can I best serve? Let me analyze the data and come up with the perfect healing for you. Following the fire of Sagittarius is the 10th house of Capricorn. All right, this is cardinal energy. I assert out into the world, but it's interesting. It's carrying feminine, receptive. So I'm out here in a transpersonal house. I'm building something that I love that goes out into the world. So we oftentimes, especially since its ruler is Saturn, we think of it as all masculine, but it is carrying a receptive nature. I'm going to turn the wheel. This is the 10th house of Capricorn, ruled by Saturn. All right. So are the earth houses. Let's see if you can remember Taurus, is fixed. Let's stay home and enjoy our creature comforts. Virgo is mutable. Let me go through all the shucking of the corn. I'll get the pearls for you. I'll tell you this works, this doesn't work. I'll analyze it for you. Then up here is Capricorn. This energy is saying, yes, I receive, I'm receptive, but I have a lot of great ideas to take out into the world and to manifest. Capricorn, one step at a time to reach the very top level of success. Okay, so fire is followed by earth. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. Fire, earth, air, water. We'll let earth dry and we'll come back and do air. So we're going to head to the air houses, but first I wanted to go over the rulers for the earth houses. So the second house is Taurus, and this is ruled by Venus, the goddess of love, poetry, music, beauty. Virgo, as I mentioned, is ruled by Mercury, the god of communication, but working with the earth. What is the caduceus that Hermes Mercury carries? It's all about finding medicine from the earth. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. How do I go step by step out into the world? A transpersonal house. If it is not necessarily what makes money, what do I love? What is my vocation, my calling out into the world? Capricorn. Again, this is yin energy. When we move to air, we go back to yang. All right. So air follows earth. So we go, the third house is air. The seventh house is air. And the 11th house is air. So the third house belongs to Gemini, the seventh to Libra, and the 11th to Aquarius. So let me get my brush. I'll supercharge it with beautiful yellow. And here we go. Look at that gorgeous third house. This is a personal house. Okay, the personal houses are the first four. And this is Gemini saying it's the twins. I think. I grow by talking. I learn how to think and express. Gemini, ruled by Mercury. This is the chatterer. This is the one that just, tell me everything. Let's talk about it all. This is early childhood conversation. The seventh house is the house of Libra. Oftentimes it's called the marriage house. It's really where we look more at divine union. It doesn't always result in marriage. It could be you and a therapist. It could be you with, an innermost other, a partner. All right, so this is Libra's house, and Libra is ruled by Venus as well. So we see that Taurus in the second house of Earth carries Venus as a ruler, but also this beautiful house of Libra, the scales that balance and see both sides. All right. Next, we go to the 11th house of Aquarius. This is a transpersonal house, whereas this Gemini is mutable, all that talking. This is cardinal energy. Let's get married. Let's initiate. Aquarius is fixed air. It's like the satellite that stays up in the heavens in its fixed position, transmitting out to all the networks. and affiliate groups. Aquarius, air, ruled by Uranus. All right. Now, when we look at our wheel, look what we notice. Fire, Aries, is opposite air, Libra. Fire, Leo, is opposite Aquarius, air. Gemini, air, is opposite fire, Sagittarius. So do you see how we're starting to move now in towards oppositional? So the pairings, the divine pairings. Oftentimes, the first person we marry or choose to have a long-term relationship with will find in their astrology the opposite pairings to work towards this idea of integration into the center. The air houses, again, ruled by, this is Gemini, ruled by Mercury, Libra, ruled by Venus, and Aquarius, ruled by Uranus, air. And then we come over here, we count 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 8th house. The 8th house of Scorpio, ruled by Pluto. Okay. And then we go 9, 10, 11, 12th house. These are the 3 water houses, 4, 8, and 12. Always follow air. And what's interesting is they're always in opposite to Earth. And so, because Earth carries the yin quality, so does water. So we go yang, yin, yang, yin. See how the beautiful balancing of the wheel and the cosmos. So let's paint in this blue for the first water house. It's the personal 4th house of Cancer, the crab, and ruled by the moon. Think about tides. This is cardinal water. Okay, so we had cardinal, fixed, mutable. Cardinal. Cardinal water. What does that mean? Again, it's carrying the receptive qualities of creativity and life in the water. The crab is at the seashore. All right, and the moon is pulling and working with the water. Cardinal water, that assertion of the water coming in and going out. It's pounding against the rocks. That's how I look at it. The waves pounding against the rock. I assert. Now, Cancer is known for carrying the energy of the theme of I nurture. This is home. This is the roots. There we go. So the 4th house of home. When we look later at the planets that are carried in your natal chart, you can ask yourself, who helps me feel at home in this water? This is emotional intelligence. So where fire was action, let's move. Earth was let's ground. Let's think about things and ground and work with matter. Air was saying, I think. How do I process and distribute information? Water is the emotional intelligence, and here's the 8th house of Scorpio. All right, so now we're in a transpersonal house, the 8th house of Scorpio. This house says, I transform. It's a very deep water. There's a stillness to the water. That phrase of still waters run deep, that is this Scorpio house. It is fixed water. So Cancer is cardinal. It's the wave pounding against the surf, pounding against the rocks or against the beaches. This 8th house is fixed water. It's the inner earth water. It's where all the secrets are kept in the deep center of the earth, really deep. It's the only what we call triphasic of signs. Scorpio can be the scorpion, the eagle, or the phoenix. All right. So now let's go to the 12th house of water. And this is if you start here, Aries, and you travel through all the zodiacal signs and houses, you get to the 12th house, and this is like the drop of water returning to the ocean. Okay, here we go. This is really the place where we return. This is the great cosmic ocean. This is the house of Pisces, the 2 fish, ruled by Neptune. Here we go. Water houses. This is deep feeling. Sometimes in the 12th house, you don't know, is it my feelings or your feelings? It's tuning into the great field, the subconscious. Think Carl Jung in the 12th house. Look at the water houses. So let's repeat again. Okay, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4th house of Cancer, ruled by the moon. 6, 7, 8, 9th house. Excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4th house. 5, 6, 7th, 8th house. 8th house is Scorpio. 12th house is Pisces. So Scorpio ruled by Pluto. Before it was ruled by Pluto, because Pluto wasn't discovered till later, let's see if we can figure out who the ancient ruler is. And so I always use this analogy of the sun and the moon, the 2 luminaries, rule these 2 houses. The sun rules Leo, the moon rules Cancer. Then next we have Mercury ruling both Virgo and Gemini. Then we have Venus ruling both Libra and Taurus. Then we have Mars ruling Aries. Guess what? Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio. So you could say Mars and Pluto both rule Scorpio. And if we keep going, we know that Jupiter rules Sagittarius, but Jupiter is also the ancient ruler of Pisces. Okay. And then Saturn. Saturn rules Capricorn, but Saturn is also the ancient ruler of Uranus. I'm sorry, of Aquarius, because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus, but before Uranus was discovered, these 2 shared rulership of Saturn. So that's an easy way to do it. You always start with the sun and the moon, and then you go outward. See that beautiful balance? Well, we'll let this dry, and then we'll come back, and I'll show you how to place the glyphs. Those are the symbols, because astrology is very much an archetypal and a symbolic language. So we'll place the symbols for Aries and its ruler, and we'll go throughout all 12 houses. Well, that was fun for me. I hope it was enlightening for you. I know that just painting out the fire houses, the air houses, water houses, and the earth houses, it just brings me back into this kind of remembering, wow, our natal portrait at birth moment holds many layers for us to remember. I know sometimes if you're into the language of astrology, we zoom forward And sometimes it's good to return back to the basics and have some fun while you're doing it, especially if there's a loved one, like a teenager or a young person who's unfamiliar with this language. Feel free to share these videos and teachings with the next generation. I think the stars are going to start speaking more to us as together we understand that our consciousness on Earth is moving much more toward an expanded galactic awareness. Take care, everybody, and I'll see you in the next course.